Scuderia Ferrari has thoroughly studied the SF-24 car regarding the characteristics of the 5.451 km Shanghai International Circuit, which will host the next round of the 2024 Formula One Championship, the Chinese Grand Prix. This is specific work to optimize the performance of the red car within the upcoming weekend of the Formula One season. The goal remains the same: to put pressure on the benchmark of the top category of motorsport, the Red Bull RB20 single-seaters. The Austrian car, in turn, will try to enhance the front end of the blue racing-colored cars by optimizing the level of downforce. As we know, the Prancing Horse has done extra work regarding the tire issue. Charles Leclerc himself confirmed this alongside his great commitment, as the 2 days spent evaluating how to increase his understanding of the hysteresis cycle of the tires provided important feedback to the Monegasque, who is now ready, like his Maranello teammate, to manage the activation of the compounds during the qualifying session as effectively as possible. This is a very important element to achieve a suitable placement on the starting grid for Sunday's Chinese Grand Prix, in order to be able to start with the leaders and therefore make the most of the competitiveness of his SF-24 car in terms of race pace. For the rest, the Frederick Vasseur method is setting a trend, a humble approach that at the same time nurtures various aspirations. The awareness of one's own means provides a lot of security to the whole Ferrari environment, and the recent performance as a result has been reflected on the racetrack every weekend. The always cheerful Fred Vasseur has been able to instill in the minds of the entire Maranello team a certain self-awareness, a measure that, combined with the very good techno-mechanical characteristics of the latest car designed by the Maranello team, is making the learning curve regarding the current regulatory framework progress with a certain nonchalance, encouraging prospects for Ferrari both for the current Formula One season and for the years to come. Yet the journey remains challenging, make no mistake. Nevertheless, the upcoming major aerodynamic package expected for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at the Imola circuit are truly encouraging for the sports management. These are important upgrades that will reposition the high-pressure zone that develops in the central area of the SF-24 car, providing on paper a cleaner fluid mass that, in turn, will guarantee the increase of the outwash effect. A very useful situation regarding downforce stability, thanks to better management of the so-called tire wake, the harmful trail created by the rolling of the tire. But there will be more time to focus on the aerodynamic package which will be introduced at Imola. For now, without further ado, let's analyze the Ferrari, which we will see at the Shanghai International Circuit. The Chinese circuit is composed of sections in antithesis to each other. There are several wide radius corners that are traversed at medium-high speeds where stable aerodynamic load is absolutely required. There are also points where traction will be needed. For this reason, the Shanghai track is considered to have medium-high severity in terms of efforts exiting low-speed corners. Additionally, the track is characterized by an extremely long straight, which measures 1.2 kilometers, that increases the sensitivity of the cars to aerodynamic efficiency. Essentially, all the teams will be starting from scratch because the cars of the new generation have never raced here before. Scuderia Ferrari is second in terms of aerodynamic efficiency behind the RB20 car, and in terms of end-of-straight speed, Mercedes and Red Bull managed to optimize more. Therefore, in Maranello, they have worked extensively on the simulation side, trying to find a setup that allows for a compromise between downforce and top speed. This keeping in mind that excessively unloading the rear of the car would not be logical since this axis is less solid than the front. In practical terms, we expect the same rear wing specification to be mounted again, as we have seen in the first 4 rounds of the 2024 Formula One Championship. The adjustment of the load will take place through the incidence and the choice of the beam wing. Generally, the SF-24 car has a balance that should adapt well to the Shanghai International Circuit. The optimal level of downforce will also be decided considering the race, trying to understand how much, in percentage terms, it will be necessary to reduce the speeds through fast corners over the long distance. Such corners are concentrated more in the central sector. However, the difference between the qualifying session and the race should not be as pronounced as was seen 2 weeks ago in the Japanese Grand Prix at the Suzuka circuit, so the level of load will not differ excessively between the 2 most important sessions. Also, remember that the first Formula One sprint of the 2024 season will take place this weekend in Shanghai. This is why nurturing the pace with a high quantity of fuel on board will be extremely crucial. There are several overtaking possibilities. so the pace during the race will be the main parameter to keep under control. On a mechanical level, Scuderia Ferrari has chosen to optimize the slower sections, which are considered as strategic areas to lower the overall lap time. Therefore, the work on the Maranello simulator to prepare for the Chinese Grand Prix has largely focused on finding a compromise in terms of rear stiffness. A greater amount of time is spent in the slow sections in percentage terms, so even a not very pronounced difference in these sections results in a considerable gain or loss of lap time. The Red Bull RB20 car has regained a lot of traction compared to the 2023 Formula One season, and there will be an interesting challenge with the SF-24 in the more technical sections of the Shanghai International Circuit. Suspension tuning has also focused on improving direction changes, although they are less demanding and frequent compared to the Suzuka track, which penalized the Maranello team in Japan. Ferrari has shown some tire activation issues, a problem that emerged strongly in Japan due to the lower track temperatures. We expect different temperatures in the various sessions for the Chinese Grand Prix weekend, which will make it very difficult to hit the correct hysteresis process and bring the Pirelli compounds to temperature at the right moment. Traction points will heat up the rear axle, but the long straights will cool down the front end. It will be crucial, therefore, both on the push lap and in long stints, to keep both axes in the correct operating window. The Shanghai track surface is medium-high in terms of abrasiveness. This aspect will force the Ferrari team to carry out tire management in strategic areas, mainly in the second sector where the car tends to slide laterally, increasing tire degradation. Scuderia Ferrari are therefore expected to fare better at Shanghai, given it's a front-limited circuit, meaning the front tires are loaded for longer through corners and thus suffer more tire degradation than the rears. And the combination of corners don't favor the Red Bull RB20 as much as the Suzuka circuit did 2 weeks ago. The Maranello team will also be looking for a more solid performance from Charles Leclerc, despite the fact that the Monegasque driver has enjoyed a rather consistent start to the 2024 Formula One Championship. Finishing inside the top 4 in all of the 4 races so far, there is clearly a lot more potential for improvement, especially in terms of qualifying pace. Somewhat surprisingly, qualifying has been a key weakness for Leclerc in 2024, struggling to match teammate Carlos Sainz at the Albert Park circuit in Australia or at the Suzuka circuit in Japan. Throughout his Formula One career, qualifying has been one of his main strengths, and ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc himself has stressed the need to extract the maximum from the SF-24 over one lap, especially considering there are 2 qualifying sessions this weekend amid return of the sprint format. While Ferrari is more optimistic about its chances this weekend, Charles Leclerc also raised concern over the behavior of the car through sections where bitumen paint has been laid down, another key aspect to be taken into consideration as preparations for the Chinese Grand Prix continue.